My parents gave my younger brother $250,000 to buy his dream home and told me I didn't need help because I could handle myself. I worked nonstop and built my own success from scratch. 2 years later, he lost his job, was facing foreclosure, and showed up at my house desperate and broken. The money was gone. The pride was gone. What mattered now was whether I would choose revenge or forgiveness when it finally came full circle. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, we bring you the most powerful, emotional, and unforgettable stories from Reddit and beyond. Today's story is about family, favoritism, and the moment everything comes full circle. A man receives the shock of his life when his parents hand his brother a fortune and leave him with nothing. But 2 years later, the tables turn in a way no one saw coming. If you believe in karma and the power of self-respect, hit that like button, subscribe so you never miss a story, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. This one is a gut punch. Let's begin. I was 28 years old when my parents sat me down in their living room and changed everything. It was a Sunday afternoon in October, the kind of crisp, golden day that makes you forget winter is coming. I'd driven 2 hours to their house, expecting a normal family dinner. My mom had made pot roast, my dad was watching football in his recliner, and my younger brother, Derek, was already there, looking uncomfortable in the armchair by the window. I should have known something was up. Derek never came to family dinners unless there was a reason. He lived 20 minutes away from our parents, not 2 hours like me, but he always had an excuse. Too busy with work. Too tired. Too something. So when I walked in and saw him sitting there, avoiding my eyes, I felt a flicker of unease. After dinner, my dad cleared his throat and said, "We need to talk to you both." In the living room. We sat down, my mom and dad on the couch, holding hands. Derek in his armchair, still not looking at me. I sat on the ottoman, waiting. My dad spoke first. "Your mother and I have been saving for a long time. We've been careful with our money, invested wisely, and we've put aside a significant amount to help our children." I felt a surge of hope. I'd been struggling financially for years. I worked as a contractor, doing home renovations, but the work was inconsistent. Some months were great, others were lean. I'd been dreaming of buying my own place, something small, something mine. But with housing prices what they were, that dream felt impossible. "We've decided to give Derek $250,000, my dad continued, to help him buy a house." The words hung in the air. I waited for him to say my name too. I waited for him to say, "And the same for you." But he didn't. I looked at my mom. She was staring at the floor. "Derek has a family now," my dad said, as if that explained everything. "He has a wife, a child on the way. He needs stability. He needs a home." I looked at Derek. His wife, Amanda, was pregnant. I was happy for them, genuinely. But I was also confused, and hurt, and rapidly getting angry. "And me?" I asked quietly. My dad sighed, a long, weary sound. "You're single, Jake. You're healthy. You're capable. You can figure it out. You always have. Figure it out." Those 3 words would echo in my head for years. "Figure it out," I repeated. "You're giving him $250,000, and I'm supposed to figure it out." "We're not giving it to him," my mom said quickly, finally looking up. "We're lending it. He'll pay us back eventually." "Will he?" I asked. I looked at Derek. He still wouldn't meet my eyes. "Derek, will you pay them back?" He shifted in his chair. "When we can. When things are more stable." I stood up. I couldn't sit there anymore. "So you're giving him an interest-free loan that he may or may not repay, while I get nothing. Is that what I'm hearing?" "We're not giving you nothing," my dad said, his voice hardening. "We're giving you the same thing we gave him, the knowledge that we'll be there if you need us. You don't need a house right now. You're fine." "I'm fine," I said, the words tasting bitter. "I'm living in a 1-bedroom apartment with paper-thin walls and a landlord who raises the rent every year. I work 60 hours a week and barely save anything. But sure, I'm fine." "Jake, please," my mom said. "Don't make this harder than it is." "Harder for who?" I asked. "For you? For Derek? What about me? What about what I need?" My dad stood up, his face red. "You're acting like a child. This isn't about you. This is about your brother's family. When you have a wife and kids, we'll help you too. Until then, you're on your own." I stared at him. 28 years of being the responsible one, the reliable one, the one who never asked for anything. And this was my reward. Being told I didn't matter. I looked at Derek one last time. He was still staring at the floor. He didn't say a word. He didn't defend me. He didn't offer to share. He just sat there, silent, accepting his fortune. I walked out. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't slam the door. I just left, got in my car, and drove home in a daze. The 2-hour drive passed in a blur. I don't remember any of it. I just remember the words echoing in my head. Figure it out. Figure it out. Figure it out. The next few months were the hardest of my life. Not because of the money. I'd always been poor. That was nothing new. But because of the betrayal. My parents, the people who were supposed to love me equally, had made their choice clear. Derek was the priority. I was the afterthought. I threw myself into work. If I was going to figure it out, I was going to figure it out on my own terms. I took every job I could find, no matter how small. I worked 7 days a week, sometimes 16 hours a day. I learned new skills: electrical, plumbing, drywall, tile. I became the guy who could do anything, who never said no, who showed up on time and worked until the job was done. Slowly, things started to change. My reputation grew. People recommended me to their friends. I got bigger jobs, better paying jobs. I hired a helper, then another. I incorporated, got licensed, insured. I started a real business. 2 years passed. 2 years of grinding, saving, investing every penny back into the company. I didn't date. I didn't take vacations. I didn't buy anything I didn't absolutely need. I lived in that same crappy apartment, drove the same old truck, wore the same work boots until they fell apart. And then, finally, it paid off. I bought a house. Not just any house. A beautiful 3-bedroom colonial on a quiet street, with a big backyard and a finished basement. It needed work, of course. It always needed work. But that was my specialty. I poured myself into it, renovating room by room, making it mine. The day I moved in, I stood in the empty living room and cried. Not from sadness, but from relief. From pride. From the overwhelming feeling of having done it myself. No help from anyone. No handout. Just hard work and determination. I thought about calling my parents. I thought about sending them photos, showing them what I'd built. But I didn't. The wound was still too fresh. The memory of that Sunday afternoon, of being dismissed, of being told I didn't matter, it was still there, a scar that hadn't fully healed. Derek, meanwhile, had used the money to buy a nice house in the suburbs. I knew because my mom sent me photos, even though I never asked. A 4-bedroom colonial with a 2-car garage and a big yard. Amanda had the baby, a little girl named Chloe. They looked happy in the photos. Perfect. Untouchable. I didn't go to the baby shower. I didn't go to the housewarming. I made excuses. Work. Too busy. Maybe next time. My parents were disappointed, but they didn't push. They probably knew why I was staying away. Or maybe they didn't. Maybe they really believed I was fine. 2 years after that fateful Sunday, I got a call from my mom. Her voice was different, strained, worried. "Jake," she said, "can you come over? We need to talk to you. It's about Derek." I almost said no. I almost made an excuse. But something in her voice made me pause. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Just, please come. It's important." I drove to their house the next day. The same living room, the same couch, the same armchairs. But this time, the atmosphere was completely different. My parents looked older, more tired. My mom had been crying. "What's going on?" I asked, sitting down. My dad took a deep breath. "Derek is in trouble. Financial trouble. Big trouble." I felt a flicker of something. Not satisfaction, exactly. More like confirmation. I'd always suspected Derek wouldn't manage the money well. He'd never been good with finances. He spent impulsively, lived beyond his means, always assumed someone would bail him out. "What kind of trouble?" I asked. "He lost his job 6 months ago," my mom said. "He didn't tell anyone. He's been hiding it. They've been living on credit cards, on loans. They're about to lose the house." I sat back, processing this. "The house we bought? The one the money paid for?" My dad nodded, his face gray. "He hasn't made a mortgage payment in 4 months. The bank is starting foreclosure proceedings. They're going to lose everything." I should have felt something. Pity, maybe. Concern. But all I felt was a cold, hollow emptiness. "What do you want me to do?" I asked. My parents exchanged a glance. Then my mom said, "We were hoping, maybe you could help him. Financially. Just until he gets back on his feet." I stared at her. "Help him? Financially? He's your brother, Jake. He's the brother you gave $250,000 to. While you told me to figure it out." And I did. I figured it out. I built a business. I bought a house. I did it alone. "We know," my dad said quickly. We're so proud of you, Jake. So proud. But Derek, he's struggling. He has a family. A little girl. They're going to be on the street. And whose fault is that? I asked, my voice rising. Did he blow through the money? Did he make bad decisions? Did he hide his job loss instead of asking for help? He made mistakes, my mom admitted. He knows that. But he's your brother. Family helps family. I stood up. Family helps family. That's rich. Where was that sentiment when you were handing him $250,000 and telling me to figure it out? Where was family when I was working 60 hours a week, eating ramen, living in a dump? Where was family then? We didn't know you were struggling that much, my mom said weakly. Didn't know? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. I told you. I told you about my apartment, my landlord, my hours. You just didn't care. Because Derek needed you more. Derek always needed you more. My dad stood up too, his face pleading. Jake, please. We're not asking you to give him money. Just a loan. To get them through. He'll pay you back. Will he? I asked. Will he really? Because he hasn't paid you back. And you're not asking him to. You're asking me. We'll help him too, my mom said. Whatever we can. We can't lose that house. That's our granddaughter's home. I looked at them, my parents, old and scared and desperate. And I felt nothing. No, that's not true. I felt something. I felt the weight of years of being second best. Of being the reliable one. The one who didn't need help. The one who could figure it out. I'd figured it out, all right. And now they wanted me to unfigure it. To share what I'd built with the brother who'd taken everything. I need to think about it, I said. And I walked out. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in my bed, staring at the ceiling, going over every memory, every slight, every moment of being overlooked. Derek getting a new car for his 16th birthday while I got a used one. Derek getting help with college tuition while I took out loans. Derek getting the basement finished as a teenage hangout while I shared a room. And finally, the ultimate gift, a house, handed to him on a silver platter while I was told to figure it out. I thought about my house. My beautiful house, bought with my sweat and blood. Every nail I'd hammered, every tile I'd laid, every penny I'd saved. It was mine, all mine. And now they wanted me to risk it for him. A week passed. My parents called every day. I didn't answer. They left messages, long and rambling, full of guilt and desperation. Derek called too once. I didn't answer that either. Then, one night, there was a knock on my door. I opened it to find Derek standing on my porch, soaked through from the rain, his face a mask of despair. Jake, he said, his voice cracking. Please, I need to talk to you. I stood there, blocking the doorway. The rain was coming down hard, plastering his hair to his forehead, running down his cheeks like tears. There's nothing to talk about, I said. Please, he begged. Just 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. I sighed and stepped aside. He walked in, dripping water on my hardwood floors. He looked around, taking in the house I'd built, and I saw something flicker in his eyes. Jealousy? Regret? I didn't know. I didn't care. We sat in my living room. He was shivering, so I got him a towel. He took it gratefully, wiping his face, his hair. Nice place, he said quietly. I know, I said. He nodded, absorbing that. Then he took a deep breath and said, I messed up, Jake. I messed up bad. I didn't respond. I just waited. I lost my job 6 months ago. I didn't tell anyone because I was ashamed. I thought I'd find something quickly. I have a degree, experience, a good resume. But nothing came through. Month after month, nothing. We burned through our savings, then our credit cards, then we started missing payments. I borrowed from places I shouldn't have. Payday loans, title loans, people who charge crazy interest. I thought I could fix it. I thought something would come through. But it didn't. He looked at me, his eyes red. We're 3 months behind on the mortgage. The bank sent a notice. We have 30 days to come up with $40,000 or they start foreclosure. 40,000, Jake. I don't have it. Mom and Dad don't have it. I don't know what to do. And you want me to give it to you, I said flatly. I want you to loan it to me, he said. I'll pay you back. I swear. I have interviews next week. I have prospects. I just need time. I looked at him, my little brother, the golden child, the one who always got everything. And for the first time, I saw him clearly. Not as the favored son, but as a man who'd been given everything and still managed to lose it. A man who'd never learned to struggle because he'd never had to. Derek, I said slowly, do you know what I was doing 2 years ago? When Mom and Dad gave you that money. He shook his head. I was working 16-hour days, 7 days a week. I was living in a rat-infested apartment, eating peanut butter sandwiches, driving a truck that broke down every other week. I was killing myself, trying to build something, while you sat in the house they bought you and raised your perfect family. He flinched, but didn't speak. And you know what the worst part was? The worst part wasn't the work. It wasn't the poverty. It was knowing that my own parents didn't think I was worth helping. It was knowing that they looked at you and saw someone who deserved a house, and they looked at me and saw someone who could figure it out. Jake, I'm sorry, he whispered. I should have said something. I should have told them to help you too. I was so focused on my own stuff. I didn't think. No, I agreed. You didn't think. You never had to think. Because someone always bailed you out. First mom and dad, now me. And you know what? I'm not going to do it. He looked up, shock on his face. Jake, please. I'm not going to give you $40,000, I said. I worked too hard for this money. I sacrificed too much. And if I give it to you, what's the lesson? That you can screw up and someone will fix it? That you don't have to be responsible because family will always be there. I'll pay you back, he insisted. I'll sign anything. I'll work 3 jobs. Just give me a chance. A chance, I repeated. You've had chances your whole life. You had a chance with that money. You had a chance to find a job. You had a chance to ask for help before it got this bad. But you didn't. You hid. You hoped it would magically fix itself. And now you want me to be the magic. He was crying now, tears mixing with the rain still dripping from his hair. I don't know what else to do. I'm going to lose my house. My family is going to lose their home. Chloe is 3 years old, Jake. She doesn't understand why mommy and daddy are fighting all the time. She doesn't understand why we might have to leave. I felt something then. A flicker of the old love, the old connection. But it was buried under years of hurt, years of being invisible. I'm sorry, Derek, I said. I really am. But I can't. He sat there for a long moment, absorbing the words. Then he stood up, slowly, like an old man. He walked to the door, then turned back. Mom and Dad were wrong, he said quietly. They were wrong to give me that money and not you. I see that now. I should have shared it. I should have insisted. But I was selfish. I've always been selfish. And now I'm paying for it. He opened the door and stepped out into the rain. I watched him walk to his car, get in, and drive away. Then I closed the door and leaned against it, my heart pounding. That night, I didn't sleep at all. The next morning, my parents showed up at my door. My mom was crying before she even got inside. My dad looked like he hadn't slept in days. How could you? My mom demanded. How could you turn your back on your own brother? I invited them in, made coffee, sat them down. Then I told them the same thing I told Derek. I worked for everything I have. You gave him $250,000. You gave me nothing. Now he's in trouble, and you want me to bail him out. Why? Why is it always my responsibility to fix things? Why is he never held accountable? Because he's your brother, my dad said, as if that explained everything. He's your son, I shot back. And you created this. You gave him everything, taught him nothing, and now you're surprised he can't manage. This is on you. Both of you. My mom gasped. My dad's face went pale. Jake, my mom whispered, that's not fair. Fair. I laughed bitterly. You want to talk about fair? Fair would have been treating us equally. Fair would have been giving us both a chance. Instead, you picked a favorite. You made your choice. And now you have to live with the consequences. We didn't mean to hurt you, my mom said, tears streaming. We just thought he needed more help. He was starting a family. We thought you'd understand. I understood, I said. I understood that I didn't matter. That my struggles weren't important. That I could figure it out on my own. And I did. So now, he can figure it out on his own too. My dad stood up, his hands shaking. If you don't help him, he'll lose everything. His wife might leave him. His daughter will grow up in some crappy apartment. Is that what you want? What I want, I said slowly, is for you to see me. For once in your lives, actually see me. Not as the backup, not as the reliable one, not as the one who can figure it out, but as your son who needed you and was rejected. We didn't reject you, my mom said. You did, I said. That day in your living room, you rejected me. You chose him, and you've been choosing him ever since. So no, I'm not going to fix this. He broke it. He can fix it. Or not. That's his choice. They left, finally, after more tears and more pleading. I watched them drive away, and I felt empty. Not victorious, not satisfied. Just empty. A week passed. Then 2. I heard through a mutual friend that Derek had found a temporary job, something low-paying, barely enough to cover groceries. The house was still in danger. Amanda had moved in with her parents, taking Chloe with her. Derek was living alone in the house, trying to figure out what to do. My parents called less frequently. I think they finally understood that I wasn't going to change my mind. Or maybe they were just too consumed with Derek's crisis to bother with me. I threw myself back into work. It was the only thing that made sense, the only thing that didn't hurt. I took on new projects, expanded my crew, started planning for the future. I was building something, and that felt good. But at night, alone in my house, I thought about Derek, about Chloe, about the family that was falling apart, and I wondered if I was doing the right thing. One night, about 3 weeks after Derek's visit, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Jake. It was a woman's voice, strained and tired. Yes. It's Amanda, Derek's wife. I sat up straight. Amanda. Hi. Is everything okay? No, she said. Everything is not okay. Derek is in the hospital. My heart stopped. What happened? He tried to kill himself, she said, her voice breaking. Last night. He wrote a note, took a bunch of pills. His boss found him this morning when he didn't show up for work. They pumped his stomach. He's alive, but he's not okay. I couldn't speak. I couldn't breathe. He left a note. Amanda continued. Addressed to you. The police have it. They'll probably give it to you at some point. But I wanted to call you myself. To tell you that he loved you. He always loved you. He just didn't know how to show it. Amanda. I finally managed. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Don't apologize to me, she said. Apologize to him. If he makes it. If he ever wants to talk to you again. She hung up. I sat there, frozen, the phone still pressed to my ear. Then I was moving, grabbing my keys, running to my truck, driving through the night to the hospital 3 hours away. I found him in the ICU, pale and hooked up to machines. Amanda was there, sitting by his bedside, holding his hand. She looked up when I walked in, and her eyes were empty. He's sedated, she said. They're watching for brain damage. He was out for too long. I pulled up a chair on the other side of the bed. I took his other hand. It was cold, limp. I'm sorry, I whispered. I'm so sorry, Derek. I sat there for hours, holding his hand, talking to him, praying to a God I wasn't sure I believed in. Amanda's parents came and went. My parents arrived, crying, hugging me, apologizing. I didn't care about any of that. I just cared about Derek. The next morning, he opened his eyes. He looked around, confused, disoriented. Then he saw me, and something flickered in his gaze. Jake, he croaked. I'm here, I said. I'm here, buddy. He closed his eyes again. A tear slipped down his cheek. I stayed at the hospital for a week. I barely slept, barely ate. I just sat with Derek, talked to him, listened when he was ready to talk. And slowly, piece by piece, he told me everything. He told me about the pressure he'd felt his whole life, the pressure to be perfect, to live up to the image our parents had of him. He told me about the shame of losing his job, of not being able to provide for his family. He told me about the guilt of taking that money, of knowing it was wrong, of never saying anything. I should have shared it, he said one night, his voice hoarse. The day they gave it to me, I knew it was wrong. I knew you deserved half. But I was too weak to say anything. I told myself you'd be fine, that you were stronger than me, that you didn't need it. I didn't need it, I said quietly. But that's not the point. The point is, we're brothers. We should have been in this together. He nodded, tears falling. I'm so sorry, Jake. For everything. For being selfish. For not standing up for you. For all of it. I squeezed his hand. I'm sorry too. For not being there when you needed me. For letting pride get in the way. We sat in silence for a while. Then he said, I'm going to lose the house. There's no way around it now. I've already missed too many payments. The bank won't wait. I know, I said. Amanda's parents are letting us stay with them. For now. But I don't know what happens after that. I don't have a job. I don't have savings. I don't have anything. You have me, I said. He looked at me, surprise in his eyes. I'm not giving you $40,000, I said. But I'm not going to let you and your family be homeless either. I have a spare room. A big house. You can stay with me while you get back on your feet. Jake, I can't. You can, I said. And you will. We're going to figure this out together. Like we should have from the beginning. He cried then, great heaving sobs that shook his whole body. I held him, my little brother, and I cried too. It wasn't easy. Nothing worth doing ever is. Derek moved into my house with Amanda and Chloe. It was cramped, chaotic, and stressful. 3 adults and a toddler in a 3-bedroom house sounds spacious, but it's not. Not when everyone is dealing with trauma, shame, and the aftermath of a near tragedy. Derek started therapy. So did Amanda. They went to couples counseling. They worked through the anger, the betrayal, the fear. It was hard, harder than anything I'd ever done, and I was just watching from the sidelines. I helped where I could. I watched Chloe while they had appointments. I cooked dinners, did laundry, kept the house running. I gave Derek a job, entry-level, minimum wage, working on my renovation crews. He showed up every day, worked hard, didn't complain. He was paying off debts, saving what he could, learning what it meant to earn a living. My parents were a complicated presence. They visited often, apologizing repeatedly, trying to make amends. I was angry at them for a long time. But watching Derek struggle, watching him fight to rebuild his life, I started to see them differently. They weren't monsters. They were flawed, scared, misguided people who'd made terrible choices. They'd played favorites, and it had nearly destroyed both their sons. One day, about 6 months after Derek moved in, my dad pulled me aside. "Jake," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "I need to tell you something. I need to apologize. Properly. Not just words, but from here." He touched his chest. I waited. "I was wrong," he said. "So wrong. I thought I was helping Derek. I thought he needed more because he was weaker. But all I did was make him weaker. And I made you feel like you didn't matter. Like your struggles weren't important. There's no excuse for that. None." I nodded slowly. "I'm proud of you," he continued. "So proud. Of what you've built, of who you are. But more than that, I'm proud of how you've handled this. Taking Derek in, helping him, forgiving him. That takes more strength than building 100 houses. I'm not sure I've forgiven anyone yet," I admitted. "I'm still working through it." "That's okay," he said. "Take your time. We'll be here. We're not going anywhere." It wasn't a magical fix. It didn't erase the years of hurt. But it was a start. A small, tentative step toward healing. 2 years passed. Derek saved enough to get his own apartment, a small 2-bedroom in a decent neighborhood. He and Amanda were doing better. Not perfect, but better. They'd learned to communicate, to support each other, to face problems together instead of hiding from them. Derek stayed with my company, but he'd worked his way up. He was now a project manager, overseeing multiple crews, respected by everyone who worked with him. He'd found something he was good at, something that gave him purpose. Chloe started kindergarten. She called me Uncle Jake and drew me pictures that I hung on my refrigerator. She had no idea about the darkness her family had been through, and I prayed she never would. My parents sold their house and moved into a smaller place, a retirement community where they could play golf and bridge and pretend the last few years hadn't happened. They visited often, brought presents for Chloe, took us all out to dinner. We were becoming something like a normal family. And me? I kept building. My company grew, expanded, took on bigger projects. I bought another house, a fixer-upper, and renovated it. I started dating. Nothing serious, just getting back out there. I was learning that life could be good, even after everything. But the question that haunted me, the one I couldn't shake, was this: could I truly forgive? Could I let go of the anger, the resentment, the years of being second best? Could I accept my parents' apologies, my brother's regret, and move forward? I didn't have an answer. Not yet. Then, one night, Derek showed up at my door. It was raining again, just like that night 2 years ago. But this time, he wasn't soaked and desperate. He was dry, calm, holding a folder. "Can I come in?" he asked. I let him in. We sat in my living room, the same room where he'd begged for help 2 years earlier. "I want to show you something," he said, opening the folder. Inside were papers, bank statements, loan documents, a check. "What is this?" I asked. "It's $40,000, he said. "I saved it. Over 2 years, I saved every penny I could. It's not much compared to what you've done for me, but it's something. I want you to have it." I stared at him. "Derek, I don't want your money." "It's not about the money," he said. "It's about the principle. You gave me everything, a place to live, a job, a second chance. I want to give something back. Not to pay you back, because I can never do that, but to show you that I've changed, that I'm not the same selfish person I was." I looked at the check. $40,000. 2 years of sacrifice, of saving, of denying himself. "Derek," I said slowly, "I don't need this. I never needed it. I just needed you to see me, to acknowledge that I existed, to treat me like a brother, not an afterthought. I know, he said, and I'm sorry it took almost losing everything to understand that. But I get it now. I really do. You're not just my brother. You're my hero. You saved my life. Not just by taking me in, but by showing me what it means to be strong, to be responsible, to be a man. I felt tears prick at my eyes. I'm not a hero. I'm just your brother. And that's enough, he said. That's more than enough. We sat there, two brothers, in the house I'd built with my own hands, and we talked for hours. About the past, about the future, about all the things we should have said years ago. And when he finally left, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. I didn't cash the check. I framed it instead, hung it on my wall next to Chloe's drawings. A reminder of how far we'd come. A symbol of redemption. My parents never fully understood what happened between us. They didn't need to. They had their own journey, their own regrets to carry. But they were trying, in their own way, to be better. And that counted for something. The house Derek almost lost? It was sold at auction, bought by an investor who flipped it for a profit. Derek didn't care. He'd let go of that house, that symbol of everything that went wrong. He was building something new, something real. Amanda and Derek had another child, a boy they named Jacob, after me. When Derek told me, I couldn't speak for a full minute. I just hugged him, held him tight, and cried. That's the best gift anyone's ever given me. I finally managed. You deserve it, he said. You deserve everything. Today, I'm sitting on my porch, watching the sunset. My business is thriving. My family is healing. My brother is my best friend. And my parents, flawed as they are still my parents. The $250,000 that started all this? It's gone. Wasted, lost, a casualty of poor decisions and misplaced priorities. But what came after? The struggle, the growth, the forgiveness. That's worth more than any amount of money. I learned that family isn't about fairness. It's not about who gets what or who deserves more. It's about showing up, even when it's hard. It's about forgiving, even when you don't want to. It's about loving, even when love feels impossible. Derek and I talk every week. We have dinner together every Sunday. Our families merging into one chaotic, noisy, beautiful mess. Chloe calls me Uncle Jake and climbs into my lap and tells me about her day. Little Jacob is learning to walk, to talk, to be a person. And I'm there for all of it. My parents are older now, slower. They don't have the energy for the kind of favoritism that once defined them. They just want to be grandparents, to enjoy the time they have left. And I let them. Because holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. I've drunk enough poison. It's time to live. The house I built, the one Derek almost lost, the one I bought with my own sweat and blood, it's more than a house. It's a testament. A testament to what happens when you refuse to give up. When you keep working, keep fighting, keep believing that things can get better. And they did. They got better. If you're out there, struggling with family, with unfairness, with the feeling that you don't matter, I want you to know something. You matter. You matter more than you know. And the people who can't see that, they're the ones with the problem, not you. Keep building. Keep fighting. Keep believing. And when the time comes, when the people who hurt you finally see the truth, be ready to forgive. Not for them. For yourself. Because forgiveness isn't about letting them off the hook. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of the past. It's about choosing to move forward instead of staying stuck in the pain. I chose to move forward. And it led me here. To this porch, this sunset, this peace. Derek just texted me. He's bringing over pizza for dinner. Chloe wants to show me her latest art project. Jacob is learning new words every day. My parents might stop by later. This is my life. This is my family. Flawed, complicated, beautiful. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. Thank you for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, if it made you feel something, please hit that like button, subscribe for more real-life tales, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. You never know who might be struggling with their own family drama, their own pain, their own need for hope. Remember, the darkest nights produce the brightest stars. Keep shining.